Well, good evening. Can everybody hear me? Go see a thumbs up sign if you can. Wonderful. Good to have you folks here. And again, what we wanted to do is this is Spiritware. For how many of you watching, is this the very last class of the very last semester of your college career? Let's see a thumbs up if that's the truth. Love it. So, Jeff, look at all these people. They are going to go out hearing you in just a few minutes. And we really want to celebrate. You know, I'm really, really, really disappointed because, frankly, um, the very last class in my class is really, really a lot of fun. And I'm not going to get into what you missed because that's like telling somebody what a great party that they didn't get to attend. So we're going to make it as good as we can right here tonight. A couple of things I want to remind you about. So we've got our special guest. He's standing by, introducing him in just a few minutes. A couple of things. Hit the mute button, but activate your camera. And I'm glad that people are participating in spirit wear. If you got beach wear or whatever on, that's cool too. Activate your camera because Jeff wanted to make sure he could see people. And we're going to make sure that we do that for him. Second, if you have questions throughout this presentation, I'll refer to you to the chat box at the very bottom of the screen. This should be old news by now, but you can ask your question there. Myself and Paul and Pete Cipro will be monitoring that. And so when Jeff's finished with his formal presentation, he said he would be very happy to take some questions. And this is going to be a wonderfully inspirational, motivational time together tonight. And that's the goal. You've heard from people from all walks of life, but you haven't heard from a fellow like this. And if there are barriers in your life, or you think you've hit a wall, or you're running into some difficulties with your job, I want you to be encouraged because by the time we're done, you're going to see that anything's possible. And Jeff's going to tell you his amazing story from when he was 5 years old, riding the school bus, all the way to where he is today. And you won't want to miss that. If you had an extension for your journal, I'll remind you that they're due by midnight tonight. And I was pretty liberal with that this year for a couple of reasons. Number one, online is tricky. There's just a lot of upset going on, you know, with the way we're doing things. So if you had an extension on your journal, it's due by midnight tonight. If you didn't have an extension and you hadn't turned it in, email me and let me know so at least I know to expect it because we're going to start cranking these grades out really fast this weekend if we can, even sooner if we can make that happen. Also, last week, it was kind of serendipitous, but after the event last week, we had about 25 or 30 people hang out. And at the very end, it was 11 o'clock. And at the very end, we still had about 20 people. So I've decided that this evening, after Jeff and after the formal class period is over, we're just going to have a virtual happy hour. I've got my wine glass ready, nothing in it right now, but I've got a little vino back by the fridge. And if you can spare the time, this is it, gang. Jeff's got his too, and a solo cup to boot. How college of you, Jeff? That's cool. But if you want to chill and hang out and just chat it up for a little bit, we'll never, ever, ever be like this again. And we invite you to do it. I'll be like last week. I'll be the last one off, although I think about 15 of us went off at the same time. So we'll have a little break, go grab an adult beverage, and we'll even do a toast and enjoy each other's company as best we can. Regarding the hard hats, I'm trying by hook or crank, for those of you who are in the engineering program, to get those hard hats to you. It's proved quite daunting task as they won't let us in the building for any reason that's not urgent or necessary. Haven't been able to convince the dean that getting your hard hat to you for graduation is an urgent matter, but I'm working on it and we'll see what we can do. You'll hear more about that as we move ahead. So let's see, I've mentioned the mute. I've mentioned share your video. It's very important. I've mentioned the virtual happy hour after we say goodbye to Jeff, who, by the way, is coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada. I mentioned spirit wear, and I just want to tell you before I may miss some of you, because this is probably, let's see, we've got 130 people right on the dot right here, Jeff. But it has been my joy and a true honor to do life with you together on Wednesday nights this semester. For some of you, most of the year. I've learned so much from you folks. We've had so many one-on-ones and small groups and phone calls and office visits. And I just want to tell you that I have confidence in you. I hope you keep my contact information, my cell phone number, my email, and please stay in touch and let me know how we can help you as you go on and pursue your way. It truly is, I don't know how else to say it other than I've fallen in love with you guys, the all word used with intention, and love and appreciate each and every one. And Jeff, you need to know, I'm going to brag on them for a minute. You need to know that these guys have not only been faithful, each class period, they've been accommodating, they've been diligent. It's just been an amazing journey to be with so many for so long. And Bearcats truly are an amazing bunch. And I'm so honored to be with them here tonight for the last time and to have you give us the next best thing to a commencement speech that you'll hear. So with that, I'm going to ask you to make sure your microphones are, let's admit the last few people here. Make sure your all's microphones are muted. Jeff, we're going to ask you to unmute yours. And just before we introduce you to Jeff Henderson, I'm going to ask Paul to tee up a little intro video, Paul. And I don't see on here, but if you'll text me that you're ready to go, that would be super duper trooper. He's got it ready to go.
What are you doing here? Stop it! Why are you here? Is there anyone with you? 911. Yes, I am Victor. There is a student here with a gun. He was shot out a window. I believe one person.
He's an ex-convict who's the first to tell you he is not proud of his early years.
Me and my sister pretty much took care of ourselves. I grew up in a neighborhood just like this one here. A lot of poverty, abandoned homes, people sleeping in cars, dealers hanging out on the corners.
Arrested for theft at 15 years old. It wasn't long before Jeff says he started selling marijuana and crack cocaine.
I was making up to $35,000 a week, and I'm sure at least $4, $5, $6 million went through my hands.
But Jeff's high-rolling lifestyle came to an end. Federal agents raided his home and arrested him. He was convicted for drug trafficking and conspiracy.
When I first went to prison, I pretty much felt that I was done. I was finished.
It's never too late to have a wake-up call. There's always time to recognize that you have the power.
I began to accept responsibility for my past. And when I went to prison and I was experimenting with food and putting out great pastries and entrees and stuff, people were like, wow, Jeff in the kitchen today.
From the prison yard to the Las Vegas Strip.
Food is one of the most important things to a person who is incarcerated.
Chef Jeff's journey has been anything but ordinary.
Prison saved my life. You know, I was rescued from the streets. But I hope these young people can make the change in their life in society today without having to go to prison and take that journey that I had to take.
He became the first African-American executive chef at Cafe Bellagio.
You know, I had to straighten up the way I walk. You know, I had to clean shave my face.
Is a New York Times best-selling author, former star of the Food Network's The Chef Jeff Project, and today is the host of the nationally syndicated television show, Flip My Food.
Hi, I'm Chef Jeff, and welcome to Flip My Food.
This is one of the better guys in the business and one of the top chefs in the country today. I gotta tell you, what a great story.
Please welcome New York Times bestselling author, Chef Jeff Henderson.
Welcome, Chef Jeff.
Jeff, it's a pleasure to have you with us. It's all yours.
Likewise. Thank you, sir. First of all, I want to say great evening to everyone here for this leadership talk. It's always an honor and a pleasure to not only tell my story, but to have an opportunity to get in front of young folks like yourself. I speak all over the world to Fortune 500, 100 companies, associations. But what I find most exciting to me is going on college campuses and in high schools and into prisons, where people are at that space in life to where they're figuring out what the next steps are. And what's important about you all, first of all, I want to say congratulations. You guys made it. The hard work, the grind of 4 years in school to earn that degree, to walk across that stage. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, it really put everyone in a position not to be honored and celebrated the way that you all deserve to be. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about my background, and the video told you a little bit there about my journey of how I lived to turn 55 years of age. You know, I have a traditional story of the inner city, you know, growing up in an impoverished home, a single parent home, dysfunctional home, parents who were uneducated. You know, my father divorced moms when I was a little boy and went on with his life, and my mother struggled. You know, she struggled to raise us. And so when I look back some 40 plus years ago, I think what I got most out of that struggle was a powerful dream. A powerful dream. And a lot of times we look at dreams and we think about a dream as something far-pitched, something way out there. Everything begins with a dream, and a dream is an idea. A dream is a wish for something. Every one of you have a dream to work at a particular engineering firm, some particular organization, or whatever your degree and your gift takes you. You're already thinking about that process. So as a young boy growing up, I remember vividly catching a school bus in Los Angeles. And for me, it was important to be the first kid on the bus every single day. And the reason why I wanted to get on the bus first is because I wanted the seat behind the school bus driver, because it had the largest window on the bus. And I always wanted to sit next to the window versus the aisleway, because my school bus took us out of poverty. It took us out of the inner city. It took us away from killings and drugs and mayhem and dysfunction. For a 35 to 40-minute road trip, my school bus went through suburban America. And I was a little black boy who was deemed unteachable, who failed throughout all of public school for 12 years. For the first time in my life, every single day going to school, I saw the American dream. I saw the house on the hill with the white picket fence. I saw middle-class families, mothers and fathers. I saw the station wagon, the family vehicle in the driveway. I knew inside of these houses that these young kids who didn't look like me, they had the double-door refrigerator. They had their own washing machine and dryer, cookie jars. They had choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. And when they woke up in the morning, they saw either a mother or a father. My dream was born out of a vision. And I used to question my existence. How come these folks get to live over there and we have to live over here? What do they know we don't know? So I began to analyze my mother, analyze my father. Like, what's wrong with our situation? But not knowing consciously and having those blinders of poverty on, I only knew and understand what I saw, heard, and experienced in this bubble, in this little world that I live in. If you can't see success, if you can't touch success, if you can't experience success, it's impossible to yearn and dream for that. So that visual is how I created my dream board, that one day I want to be rich. It's like all of you students right now have to create that dream board out of college. You got your degree. You did your 4 years. You've read all these extraordinary books and met all of these engineers and subject matter experts in your field. Now it's time for you to take that information, take those micro experiences and go into the workplace and figure out how do you carve out your own recipe for success. And we're going to move into that area as we move down into leadership, the power of building relationships, becoming a subject matter expert, execution, because I can motivate you all day here on this call. You know, I can blow smoke and tell you how great I am and what it takes to win, but success, execution, motivation means nothing without execution. Because now it's time that every one of you got to put your boots on. You got to tie the bootstraps up tight. Now it's time to go to war for your future. And you all now have come to age in a very challenging time in this world. Only the strong is going to survive out here now. I'm keeping it 100. You know, the college degree, diploma doesn't guarantee you the American dream. It doesn't guarantee you success. It's how you build relationships, how you develop your expertise. How do you position yourself to get access? How do every one of you on this call stand out amongst the ones, out amongst the best? There's thousands of engineers graduating this year from universities all over the world. How do you stand out? How is that recruiter, that HR expert, or those engineers and those big companies are going to pick you over the rest of them? How you rolling? Who you hanging with? What's the plan? What do you bring to our organization? So we'll move there. So as a youngster, that dream of that house with the basketball court, choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I wanted it. And I wanted it bad. I wanted to change my circumstances. I wanted to recreate the narrative in my family and my community. See, I never valued education when I was young. When I was y'all's age, education wouldn't put money in my pocket. And you know why? Because no one ever told me or taught me the value of education until later in life when I was living in a cage in Terminal Island Federal Prison, San Diego Metropolitan Detention Center, Los Angeles Detention Center, in a cage with a little window, walking on concrete with a little bitty locker, no choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was during that moment in my life that I began to value education, and I realized that knowledge is power and education is like money in the bank. Education and building relationships and putting yourself around subject matter experts is an unsigned check waiting to be signed, period. I chose a criminal lifestyle over education because no one ever connected education to the house on the hill with a white picket fence. No one ever said if you go to school, you learn middle-class values, you build the right relationships, you build character and integrity, you can have that house. You can have it all. I wasn't taught that because I wasn't around those type of people in my neighborhood. But there was something I believe that was extraordinary about me. And I'm tooting my own horn right now. As a 55-year-old man, I realized I was smart as hell. I had gift the gab. In the streets, they call great communication skills gift the gab. I had the ability to talk. And because when you grow up in poverty, in that environment, you learn communication skills early on. You learn how to hustle. Because if you've never been hungry before, and your mother never came home for a couple of nights, and there was no food in the refrigerator, and there was no money, what do you think that does to a young person? You say, I gotta eat, and I gotta eat by any means necessary. And I started selling gourmet chocolate candies as a young kid. I had a newspaper route, was the #1 newspaper boy, #1 candy seller. I used to hustle soda bottles and trade them in at the liquor store for 20 cents for the big ones, 15, 10 cents a dime for the small, skinny ones. I cut grass. I had a lawnmower when I was in high school. I used to cut grass before I went to school to put a little money in my pocket. So I was always in tune. I was an analyst. I was a studier of people. I was a thinker. I was a person who always asked questions, and everybody used to tell me that I talk too much. My family members used to pop me in the mouth, quiet, shut up, you talk too much. That was my gift. The ability to sell chocolate candy out every night and have the #1 newspaper route was a gift. But when you have blinders on and it doesn't allow you to see the extraordinariness or certain gifts and certain strengths in people, you put it down. It wasn't my father's fault or my mother's fault because they didn't understand the power of the gift and what a gift is. And we're going to talk about that as we move on. I can sell. How do you become a great salesman? Because you build great relationships. And when you build great relationships, that impacts your bottom line because it allows you to be able to move product and sell product. So when I used to sell gourmet chocolate candy, these guys took us in the suburbs where wealthy families live, and that's where I sold. So early on, I began to understand the power of diversity. For the first time, I was knocking at these doors in million-dollar homes selling chocolate candy, and I got to conversate with people who didn't look like me. But that was an experience. When I went to prison, I had another experience. So throughout my adolescent years, what happened with me is I discovered my gift early in life. But I criminalized my gift, which ultimately led me to prison. So when you see wealthy people going to prison, it's because they criminalized their gift because of greed. My criminal was born out of a desire to survive and help my mother. And I started selling drugs in high school, weed first, marijuana, pinhead joints, little tiny joints. I used to keep in a Ziploc bag, tucked down in my pants in between my shirt. I sold joints, nickel bags, dime bags of weed at school. Then in the early 1980s, you guys wasn't even born yet. Cocaine hit impoverished Black and brown and poor white communities. When crack cocaine came out is when methamphetamine first came out. I knew the dudes who first started manufacturing methamphetamine in Santee, California in the early 1980s called Triple Net. This is how meth became all over the country. Crack came all over the country. So this underground economy, I jumped in it. And I became a millionaire at the age of 19. I never used drugs in my life. I never been violent, never carried guns. But I took the skill sets that I learned as a paperboy, candy seller, as a visionary, as a student on a bus to say, if I can sell chocolate candy out every night, if I can have the #1 newspaper route, I can be the #1 drug dealer. That was my dream coming out of high school, to be the top drug dealer in Southeast San Diego. And I became that. But through that whole process, I played a role in destroying Black and brown and poor white communities all across this country. It's a part of my life that I'm not proud of. But when I look back at my life, all the life lessons that I learned, that wisdom, that experience allowed me to become a reformed man today, an educator, a speaker, a father, a husband, a visionary today. So experience and wisdom is key. You have the book smarts now. Now you need the physical experience. You need the expertise, the things that you don't learn in a book. That's what you got to get now. Now you're on ground zero. So it's a whole new piece that starts. So in 1988, I was indicted by the feds and I went to prison at 23 years old. But I was in the federal system with multi-millionaire Wall Street stockbrokers. I was in prison where I met the first African in my life. I'm African American. I never met an African before. I never met a Jewish person before. I never met a Native American before. I never met somebody from Iceland, a British guy, South America. So when you think about prison, you know, prison doesn't discriminate. You commit a crime, you're going to prison. So I had every culture, every life experience, every social and economic culture in that prison. Diversity is so important. It's so important because you never know who you're going to interview with. You never know which subject matter expert, what organization or what company is going to give you a job. Why it's important for you to build strategic relationships with people that don't look like you and come from different life experiences, so you don't feel inferior or threatened or have biases and unconscious biases. You never know who it could be a woman. It could be somebody from the LGBTQ community. It could be a Muslim. It could be whoever. So it's important to understand the cultures and subcultures of different people in the world of business and succeeding in the corporate space. The first time I ever sat at a table with a white guy and had a meal was in prison. And it was a white guy who told me that I was smart. He said, Jeff, you're smart. He heard me tell my story at Toastmasters. We had a Toastmaster chapter in prison, believe it or not. And I got up there and I gave a speech in prison. I was raw, uncensored, uncut. And the guy came up to me and he says, Jeff, man, you a smart guy. I'm like, what do you mean? No one ever told me I was smart. He said, Jeff, you were smart. You became a millionaire at 19. You understood marketing, branding, public relations, the importance of building relationships, bottom line, profit and loss, transportation, distribution, training and development, planning. Wow, I never heard those words before. And that was an aha moment for me because he put the business model around the criminal activity. But then he followed up and said to me, he says, Jeff, all you got to do is change the product and build character integrity. Boom, that light came on. I've got it now. I finally figured it out. Now I know how those people lived in those houses in suburban America. Now I figured out how they got to go on vacations 2 times a year. Now I know how those kids went to private schools and had a swimming pool in the backyard. Successful people, wealthy people, forward-thinking people, global thinkers have figured out one thing, what their gift is. And then they parlayed that gift. They became a subject matter expert at that gift. They cashed in at that gift. Successful people know what their gift is. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. When you don't know your strengths, you're all over the place. You're frustrated. You don't know where you want to go in life. I always knew my strengths, even as a little boy. I always knew my strengths as a little boy. And so when I was in prison, I got fired on my job because I was hanging around the Wall Street boys, and they introduced me to 60 Minutes, 2020, Primetime Live, National Geographic's, U.S. News, the Wall Street Journal. So when I was watching 60 Minutes, 2020, I got to travel the world. So I got exposed. I went to China. I went to Russia. I went to Africa, South America, Paris, and London, and had those experiences from those correspondents that did stories all over the world. And then I was like, man, I said, these dudes are pretty cool, these Wall Street guys. They're super smart, because when you become a subject matter expert at what you do, right, you don't focus on where you're weak. See, all you guys are engineers, but there's different genres of engineering. Civil engineering, it's space, computer engineering, all these things. So now you got to figure out what your gift is and what lane you're going to roll in the engineering world. Once you figure where you excel at quickly, with the least amount of effort, that's what you focus on. Don't try to be an expert of where you suck at. And, you know, we all suck at a lot of stuff, but we're all great at certain things. And how you know what your gift is, listen here, young people, how you know what your gift is? A gift is something that you do extremely well at a very high level with the least amount of effort is the gift. You focus on what you do well. And where you fall weak, you put people around you. You get mentors around you who are experts in where you are weak at. This cuts off years and years climbing the corporate ladder. You guys with me? Like, this is real talk right here. This is, you know, hey.
Let's give him a thumbs up if
PhD
you're
in
with
street
him.
art.
Give him a thumbs up. This is inspiring. This is
you
good
guys,
stuff.
Let me
Awesome.
tell you something. Let me tell you something. Street smarts, I own it. I've been there, done it all. 55 years. I don't have the book smarts, but I do read. And I study book smart people. And book smarts are important. But book smarts with a little bit of street smarts will help you go a long ways. Because I had to learn early in life how to swim with sharks and not get bitten. Because it's not easy out there. You're going to have haters, career haters. You're going to have people that's going to block you, that don't want to see you get that promotion, that don't want to see you get that job. You're going to be competing with thousands of people from all over the world for 2 or 3 positions in an organization. You have to stand out. This is why I got this book right here I want to share with you called Stand Out by Marcus Buckingham. He also wrote the book called The One Thing You Need to Know. And it talks about playing to your strengths and managing around your weaknesses. Marcus Buckingham is one of the modern day strength guru. I only do, listen, I know my strengths. I don't waste time. I don't spend money trying to develop somewhere that I'll just never be good at. I love to golf. I go golfing with people, but I suck at golf. I know that's not my gift. I'm not paying no golf trainer thousands of dollars to learn how to play golf because I suck at it. I'll never be good at golf. That's not what I do. So I play to what I do. So here I'm in prison. I got fired on my job. I'm going to speed up here. I got put in the kitchen on pot and pan detail. So now I'm working in the prison kitchen. I realized all the prisoners who worked in there ate better than everybody else. They got seconds and thirds. So I started helping the prisoner cooks cook, and I got good at it. And eventually I became the head prison cook. And then again, I was almost transformed, but I still had a little street and edge in me. So I launched an underground catering company as a prisoner in federal prison. So I sold the extra chicken, red onions, hard-boiled eggs, squeezed cheese for top ramen noodles, and whatever I can get my hands on to cook these concoctions up for these wealthy inmates because they were very elitist. They didn't want to wait in line to eat. So I started a little catering company, and that's how I bought stamps and I bought my books. Many of these books behind me have my prison number on them. And so many of these books here, I read in prison. I had ordered in prison, cookbooks, history books, self-development books, because I had to tap into the mind of the experts, the wisdom. So I'm what you call a knowledge jacker. And in my book, if you can see it, you can be it, is based on the 12 street smart recipes for success. And the chapter is called Knowledge Jacker. And what a knowledge jacker is an individual who builds relationships with specific individuals who are subject matter experts in the area they believe they're expert in. So the strategy is, how do I build a relationship? How do I get next to this person? That's what I did when I came out of prison. I'm a homeboy. Prison GED, never been to culinary school a day in my life. I became a top executive chef at the Bellagio, Caesars, Ritz-Carlton, Hotel Bel Air, L'Hermitage, all 5-star, 5-diamond properties. Why? It's because I understood the strategy of getting next to the subject matter experts. Just like the people who had the houses in the suburbs. What do they know? I don't know. What kind of shoes do they wear? I used to peek in my boss's window and see the books, write down the names, and go buy the book. I wanted to know everything he knew. I jumped in his toolbox. I jacked him. I robbed him. I extorted information, all legitimately. No strong arm or any of that. It was important. If I wanted to be a top chef, I had to go amongst the best in the game. Got out of prison. 10 years later, 1996, I walk out of prison. I was buffed up. I had big guns, big shoulders, big back. I didn't have any legs or no behind because the prisoners only lift the upper body so they can look tough. You know what I'm saying? So I came out of prison. I had to tone down my swagger. I had to clean shave my face. I took makeup to cover my earring hole up. I went out and got some fancy, corporate, trendy eclectic eyewear. I started investing in my grill. Look at my grill. You know why your grill is important? That's the first thing people see is your mouth. They look at your mouth when you smile, when you talk. So I had to chameleonize my approach to opportunities. Remember, convicted felon, black man, prison GED, no formal culinary education. So my strategy was I go in and take the dishwasher, janitor job to get in the company I want to work for. Don't ever one of you ever think you're too good to go in and vacuum and mop some floors in the top engineering firm in the world. That's how you get in the doors. If you got a challenge getting in, you take another job later. See, I go in as a dishwasher and a janitor in a restaurant. I come to work 2 hours early. I leave 2 hours late. I come in on my off days. And I identify the subject matter expert who I want to build a relationship with, and I go after him. Anyway, anyhow, buy him coffee, you know, clean his area, make sure he has everything that he needs, do his dirty work, pick his garlic, clean the lobster claws, set him up good, build that relationship. Boom, he lets me in and he gives me the private lessons. You see, everybody doesn't get private lessons. You see, every boss that you have, an engineering subject matter expert, when you work for a company, you got the standard operational procedure in doing a job. When you stand out amongst everyone else, that's when that engineer and that subject matter experts invite you for lunch. They pull you aside and they'll tell you they like you. And then they're going to give you the secrets for success in that company and your genre of your career. You see what I'm saying? You got to have those guys with the wisdom and the secrets, because, you know, you only can get so much in a book, but you got to get the technical pieces. Like, they'll tell you how to do things and inspire you in certain ways and set you up for success that everybody doesn't get. That's why there's only a few that make it to the top. That's why when I came out of prison, I knew nothing about fine dining. I never had white asparagus, green asparagus. I didn't know what Chilean sea bass, never had salmon, red wine reduction, never had cauliflower, never had roasted quail, duck fat, none of those things. I never had raspberry, blackberries, or blueberries in my life. So I had to invest, eating the food, going to restaurants, sitting to where the waitress is bringing the food out of the kitchen so I can get a visual on the plate. That's how I sharp. And then behind me is all the cookbooks. So most of my mentors and the subject matter experts, I never met them in my life. Because if you write the book, baby, I'm going to get it. I'm going to tap into you. I'm going to learn how you think, how you live, how you socialize. I'm going to watch you on YouTube, the internet. I'm going to go to your conferences and I'm going to watch you afar. That's how I learned on the streets when I became the #1 drug dealer. Part of my life I'm not proud of, though. But I studied the strengths and the weaknesses of the drug dealers. That's why I was able to surpass them quickly and swiftly. That's how I became a chef at the Bellagio and Caesars and got on Food Network and done movie deals and written 4 books. I don't play. I don't play, man. Let me tell you, life is too short. I love living good. I love traveling. I love to eat good. I make sure all my kids go to LMU. I got an engineer, I got a computer engineer. My son, Jeffrey Jr., graduates next year from LMU in computer engineering. My daughter's a business management, and my youngest daughter graduates this year. She got accepted to Notre Dame, but she's gonna wind up going to LMU as well too. I got a little discount, so I got 3 kids there. So I had to try to get the hookup. Chef Jeff is all about the hookup, man, let me tell you. So here I am. I come out of prison. I had to stop lifting weights. So I was too buffed. I had to learn to smile and be humble so people would like want to talk to me. I'd be like, how you doing? My name is Chef Jeff. Listen, I'm so excited about this potential opportunity to work here at the Ritz-Carlton. Oh my God, this has been a dream of mine. They said, man, this guy here is just like off the charts. And then, so those were my strategies I used to get access. So I went on and built my career, went to Vegas in 2000, became the first African-American executive chef working at Caesar's Palace, the Bellagio Hotel, and then I wrote a book. Because I didn't chase the book. I wanted to be a chef. That was the top of my dream, is to become an executive chef. The first homeboy, convicted felon, African-American executive chef, running a $30 million business, managing 70 employees, 5 chef managers who went to the top culinary schools all over the world. Don't get caught up in a degree. When you go on these jobs, don't be like, oh, I just graduated from the University in Cincinnati and I was at top of my class. They don't give a shit about that. They want to know, can you deliver? What are you going to bring to this company? What assets do you have that fit into our brand, into our culture, into our long-term strategy? That's what it's about. I always say, big ears, little mouth. They don't need all this. That's all on the application. Be humble. Listen. Be teachable. Be learnable. Don't talk, oh, my father was a big-time engineer. I'm going to work for his company and blah, blah, blah. My instructor, Mr. Sizemore, he taught me this and that and blah, blah, blah. They don't care about that. They want to know, can you deliver? They want to know how passionate you are. They want to know if you're going to come to work every day. They want to know if you're going to choose a party or concert over coming to work. They want to know if you're going to produce, because it's about producing at the end of the day. That hard work starts now, but it pays off at the end. See, the payoff is on the back end, not the front end. It's on the back end. And I had to realize that. And so I'm working and I get a call. I wrote a book called Cook, From the Streets to the Stove, From Cocaine to Farquhar. And I told my whole life story. Never chased a book deal, never chased television. And I wrote the book, and the book went into auction. And then my agent called me a couple days later, and he says, Jeff, you're not going to believe this. I said, yeah, Mike, what's going on? He said, man, Oprah wants to interview you. I said, man, you kidding? Oprah? Oh, my God. I got a picture of her up here on the wall. Can you believe that? Oprah? The job at the Bellagio, executive chef, went on the Oprah show, was scared to death that she was going to ream me for my dirty past. And I always apologize for the mistakes that I made. I'm definitely not proud of it. But everybody's journey is different. Most of you will get fired on the job once, maybe twice. There's nothing wrong with getting fired, because there's lessons. There's lessons in termination. There's lessons in rejection. It makes you better. You see, this is why, sometimes people go work for companies because they get friended in, or their family owns a big company. This is why you start at the bottom, because you learn all those little lessons along the way. That's what makes you an expert. It's the life lessons along the way. If you miss those lessons, you will fail at the top. You can't get there because you don't know all those intricate things about your organization. And then I wrote the book. Then I went on Oprah. 2 hours after Oprah, the phone rang. I was like, hello, Chef Jeff, may I help you? Hey, Chef Jeff, what's going on, man? It's Will Smith. I said, hey, man, who's playing on my phone? He said, hey, man, this is Big Willie from Philly. And my agent came in and said, man, it's Will Smith. Then I got rid of my corporate swagger, and I got real cool. And, hey, man, what's up, Will? Yeah, what's up, man? Then I got real cool, right? He said, Jeff, I love your story, man. I'm up here in Brooklyn filming I Am Legend. He said, man, can you come up? I said, sure. We're going to tell Will Smith, no, I'm not going on a movie set of I Am Legend. He sent his homeboy down to get me, and a white Lincoln Navigator was Heavy D, the heavyweight lover. You guys are pretty young. I don't know if you know who Heavy D is. And I went up to the set, and I met Will. He was real skinny for that movie. And it's kind of scary with COVID-19 when everybody disappeared, got skinny. There was no food. He went hunting for food every night. And look what we're doing now. We're hunting for food. So, wow, man, things come around. So I met Will. By 5 o'clock that evening, we had a motion picture movie deal. Then 2 weeks later, Food Network called and said, Chef Jeff, we want to do a show with you. And so I wound up doing the Chef Jeff project, where I took 6 at-risk kids from off the streets, and we launched a catering company in Beverly Hills where I taught them life classes. And then it was like, man, everything happened. Public, speaking came, and then my first speaking engagement was with American Airlines. Now, I've spoken in prison, and I've always been a great communicator. And then my wife calls and, honey, U.S. Airlines wants you to come. And I'm thinking, $500 maybe. Just come out to give me a dinner. Let me and my wife stay in a, junior presidential suite or something. Man, $30,000 to talk for 30 minutes. I said, Chef Jeff, you are in the wrong business. You ain't cooking no more, brother. You gonna start talking, right? So when you see how full circle comes, slapped in the mouth as a little boy, told that I talk too much. Selling candy, selling newspapers, selling a bad product, those relationship building allowed me to build a brand and sell product because I always stayed focused on what I do well, and that's it. So that's the quick version of everything that I wanted to share. So I wrote down 5 steps for you. So this is how it goes right here. The dream first. What is your dream right here, right now? We're about to close out. What is that dream? What is that vision? What's step 1 of the dream? Now after that, you got to figure out what your gift is. Because out of the 100 and something of you, there could be a small percentage of you that may pursue something else other than engineering. Because sometimes when we go to college, we're influenced by other people. And it may not necessarily be your true gift as an engineer. I'm just keeping it 100 with you. If it is your gift, now you got to figure out what engineering lane you're going to jump in and how you execute and master that gift in that area. How you find those subject matter experts, how you build those relationships. And remember, execution is key. How do you roll out your execution plan? Sustainability, once you make it to the top, how do you stay up there? You have to reinvent yourself all the time. They say you have to reinvent yourself every 18 months. How do you change with the times? How do you evolve in that business and what you do? So that's my story in a nutshell. I really wish I was supposed to have been out there live in front of you guys, but unfortunately COVID-19 didn't allow me to do that. I thank you guys for having me. We're going to have some Q&A if we have time. And man, look, young ladies and young men, I believe, man, let me tell you something. Mr. Sizemore, let me tell you, Greg is the biggest. I'm surprised he don't have pom-poms right there in his office right now. Like, he is your biggest fan. I met this guy. I saw him in action. He's high energy. He's my brother from another mother. Me and that guy we're fire, man. I don't play. Every day I wake up at 4 o'clock every day religiously. All the deals, all the jobs are given away in the morning. That's when you get up and you go get it. All right, my friends, thank you so much. Any questions, hit me up. I'm right here.
Okay, I've got the first question. Here's the way we're going to do it. We got a chat box down there, and I want you to take time on the chat box. We're going to monitor it. Not a whole lot in there right now, but I got the Jeff. Tell these guys how in prison you became a cooking expert, and how you got your spices, and how you got your products, and the creativity that required. Share that with us. And yes, we got plenty of time. Keep going.
Right. So in prison, you apply for jobs in a prison through a document called a cop-out, an inmate request form. It's like a regular application. There's tons of occupations in prisons, from, working in the law library, a clerk, the chaplain clerk, maintenance, building maintenance, electrical, plumbing, the powerhouse, the laundry department, landscaping, the paint crew, even working up in the warden's office, and culinary. You got bakers, you got cooks, you got servers, you got the people who set up the buffets. And for me, I just learned quickly, and food has always been important to me because I grew up hungry. And I never got enough to eat when I was in prison. So when I got fired on my job for hanging around the Wall Street guys, not going to my job on the Cadillac crew, they put me in the kitchen. So I realized, I can get extra food here. Then I started seeing a lot of food getting smuggled out of the kitchen. And as I became the head inmate cook, usually the head inmate cook controls the protein, which is the chicken, the meatloaf, all those little things. So a lot of the wealthy inmates, and I was in prison with Ivan Boesky, the co-defendant of Michael Milken, the junk bond king. I was in prison with Larry Laham. He's the guy who shot the Congressman Ryan O'Neal at the Guyana tragedy in South America. I was in prison with federal judges, politicians, this crazy intellectual guys. Even though these guys became criminalized, they were still extremely smart and gifted in their field. And they fed me a way that I never was fed before. So I said, if I can get food to them, like chicken and little packages of sugar and red onions and stuff for them to put in their top ramen noodles. Remember I talked about building relationships. How do you get access, right? So I found a way to get to them through food, and they hooked me up by giving me the little private message. Jeff, you're smart. You knew marketing, branding, public relations. Come watch 60 Minutes with us. Here goes National Geographic. I want you to watch U.S. News tonight. Remember the McNeil News Hour, Greg? Back, I used to love that.
Yeah,
every
100%.
day.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite shows on PB. I used to watch it every day. Man, I got so like obsessed with knowledge. I was like, why didn't my school teacher ever teach me this? Why didn't my dad ever tell me that I was smart? Why didn't somebody pull my coattail and say, Jeff, if you can sell candy in newspaper and be the #1 seller, you can sell stocks and bonds? No one ever said that to me. But the drug dealers says, Jeff, here's a way you can make thousands of dollars every single day. And that's how I became criminalized. So I used to smuggle out packages of food, and that's how I got good at my craft, cooking for the guys in the prisons. And they praised me. I mean, never being praised. Like you guys are told you're smart all the time. You know, we want to see you guys win. But in prison, the first time I ever felt valued in my life was in prison. When somebody puts their hand on your shoulder and said, man, you're smart, Jeff. You got potential. Man, that like made my chest stand out. It made me stand strong that, you know, I'm really not a criminal. I just became criminalized. No one's born a criminal. No one's born a bad person. We become criminalized because of influences and circumstances and situations, things that we're allowed to see young, things that we experience, things that we hear drives that criminal in some people. So that's how I got, Greg, that's pretty much, you know, and I started cooking. And then right before I got out of prison, my caseworker, Mr. Hirschman, gave me an article in the USA Today about the top African-American chefs in the country. Marky Samuelson, Patrick Clark, and Robert Gatsby. And Robert Gatsby became my target. Okay, you know on the streets like the mob, they put a hit on you because they target somebody. So I put a hit on this chef. I said, I'm gonna find this guy. I'm gonna get next to this guy. I'm gonna jack him for knowledge. He's a black dude cooking fine French cuisine. Hell, I need to learn that shit. So I felt my chances of getting next to this guy because he was a man of color would help me get in the door. And it worked. And I got in the door, I washed his dishes. I used to spray olive oil on his plants, wipe all the dust off. Whatever he told me to do. If he told me to jump off the roof, I jump off the roof. And then after a while, he pulled me aside every day and he taught me something different. He talked to me about the knife. He slid a book to me. He told me about the chef wear, the chef coat. This stuff, they just don't, I couldn't learn in culinary school. They don't have time. This is why it's important to identify a subject matter expert, and you need to build relationships now. Many of you have already started that. It's important, especially some of those folks, young folks who went to Kurt. You know, they met, people in the industry, in the field, sign up, join everything, and you'll find that right person. You got to have inspiration every single day because you do not want to get frustrated. All right.
Yeah, I got another quick question here in the chat is how did you keep from being resentful? So many people come out of prison just resentful and hateful and just full of vitriol with their past. How did you shake your past, which was obviously very difficult? And
I never
the future.
Yeah, I embrace my past because my past life experiences set me up for the comeback. And I own what I did. I own the fact that I did some bad. I deserve to have gone to prison. So I set that I poisoned my community with crack cocaine. I didn't go to prison just for selling drugs. I went to prison for stealing bicycles. I went to prison for breaking in people's houses. I went to prison for being disobedient to my parents. I went to prison for stealing lunch tickets out to school teachers' desks so I can get extra food for breakfast and lunch. So I went to prison for a whole lot of things, but prison saved my life. I realized that I got rescued because of the men, the experts that was in prison, PhDs, multimillionaire CEOs of companies. You can't, listen, have you ever heard of the $1 billion and the $1 million round table?
Yes, I have. I don't know if some of these guys have.
Listen, they got organizations that you only can go to these meetings if you have $1 billion or a certain amount of millions of dollars. If you can't pay, you can't get a seat at the table. In prison, I had a seat at the table. It didn't cost me nothing but some chicken scraps, some sugar, some red onions, for some top ramen noodles. These guys, Ivan Boesky, Michael Milken, your money don't mean nothing to these guys. So to me, it worked for me. That was my journey. I had to go down that journey. So I embrace it. I embraced it. I would never give back that 10 years that I lost of my freedom in a cage, in a prison, in 4 different institutions. I would never give that time back because I wouldn't be sitting here talking to y'all right now.
That is just an incredible statement. And I think that one of the things I take away from this, gang, and by the way, in the chat box, if this has touched your heart, if this has been inspiring, if this has been motivational, if you've been feeling this, let Jeff know in that chat box, because we need to, I mean, you can kind of get a taste of what the last class would have been like had we been together, along with all the stuff that goes along with it. But here's what I want you to do.
I'm looking at everybody right now. And everybody seems tuned in. I'm looking at you. I see one guy on the beach in the Bahamas with polka dot shirt on. I see a young lady here with red with the kitchen in the backdrop. I see one man here on a leather couch. So listen, and let me add another layer.
Yeah, please.
Don't ever think I did this on my own. Nobody gets anywhere in life alone. It's a collaboration, and I have to give props to God, because my faith in the Lord allowed me to survive the streets. I never had a fight as a drug dealer. Nobody ever hurt me. Nobody hurt me in prison. I was in prison with killers, bank robbers, mafia, Rosario Gambino serving 40 years from the Gambino crime family and from New York City. Dangerous people. I never got, God just navigated me through all of this. So faith worked for me as well. Collaboration with other people. You can't do it by yourself. I don't care. Just being smart isn't good enough. Just graduating top of your class isn't good enough. In order to make the perfect dish, the perfect pizza, perfect short ribs, the perfect foie gras, the perfect pasta dish, you need multiple perfect ingredients. You are one ingredient. The rest of the ingredients are out there. You just got to figure out what ingredients you need to make you that expert, that standout engineer in your business. It speaks to the core. And I always tell people, you see, I never party. I don't drink. I never hung out with parties. If you're not smarter than me, I don't mess with you. Everybody I deal with is smarter than me. I'm old now, I'm 55. So when I was y'all's age, I was buried in a prison. No, I was on the streets, but about to go to prison. So I don't have time for that, because I'm about winning. Winning. How do you win? Beast mode mindset. You gotta have the mindset, the core to win. That's it. Anybody who distracts you from winning, anybody that distracts you from getting your house on the hill with a white picket fence, anybody who distracts you for being who you're supposed to be is like cancer. Get rid of it.
Yes.
Period.
Absolutely. Word on that.
Any advice today here? Go ahead.
No, somebody asked any advice about how to develop communication skills, because you've obviously demonstrated they're extremely important. For those of us who seem to lack in that area, any advice on how to develop them? You mentioned Toastmasters a minute ago. Weigh in on that,
Yes.
Jeff.
Well, I have two kids who are introverts, and my son, who is a computer engineering major at LMU, I went up there one time to meet him for lunch, and I was parked in front of Jamba Juice. And I called my son and said, son, Dad's out in front of Jamba Juice. I'm waiting here. So I'm sitting in the van waiting to watch my son walk up and get in the car with me. And I never saw him. And I called him. I said, son, where are you? He said, Dad, I'm right here inside of Jamba Juice. I said, but I never saw you walk in there. So what he does, he walks behind all of the buildings so he doesn't have to communicate with people, because he doesn't want to talk to anybody, because he's in his own world in himself. So my challenge has been with him and folks who lack communication skills is you have to talk to people. Without communication skills, it's going to be very challenging for you to get access, because the power of team, everything is teamwork in companies. You work in a team as a collective body. And if you can't function as a team in a collective body, you become the odd man out. And there's challenges. But however, there was an article that came out some years ago in Utah that talked about certain companies who look for introverted people who have highly patience, who can sit maybe in front of a computer and work all day and never talk to anybody, but very disciplined. So there is opportunities for folks like that, but you have to build communication skills. Jump in chat rooms. This is a great way here on Zoom to start talking and being comfortable, because when you don't talk and you don't communicate, people can't read you. And when people can't read you and figure out who you are, then you put a shield up and it makes them nervous. And they may not want to engage you because you're like that guy who's quiet, who never talks, and they're trying to figure you out, and you raise those red flags. So that can be a challenge. You don't have to be a big talker, like me and Greg. We love to talk. That's what we do. But you still have to communicate and build relationships with people, because you need to have that. That's just important. So that's my communication piece, Greg.
Appreciate it. Another question says, what's your advice on how, you mentioned reinventing ourselves every 18 months or so. What's your advice on how to constantly evolve and grow personally? What do you need? Who do you need? How do you get started so that you don't get stuck?
Yes. Well, that comes from building relationships, being active in your industry, learning new things, reading new books, traveling, but most of all, having different experiences. Because if you don't stay in tune of how your industry is evolving and the world is evolving, you get left behind. So education will always be the mantra. You're a student for life. What you learn over the last 4 years, maybe the next 6-10 years, a lot of that will be obsolete. So if you don't keep evolving, keep learning, keep growing, keep building those relationships, then you're going to be stagnant. So you always have to reinvent yourself. What do I do next? How do I do this better? How do I get it to the next level? How do I create this? How do I get into this company? So it's a process and it's a journey. It takes time. It's not easy for everybody. It is easier for others, and it's easier for some people, but it may not be easy for you. But you just have to, identify people who are evolving in your industry. You got to watch them by afar. Most mentors you ask to mentor you, are going to tell you they don't have time. And usually mentors come naturally. When somebody sees something unique in you, they will approach you and they will take a liking to you, and then they will bring you into that fold. So I call that strategic shining. Let me tell you a quick story. When I was working at the Bellagio, Cafe Bellagio, $30 million a year restaurant, it was the cafeteria for all the C-suite executives, all the top, from the president, CEO, Terry Lanny, all of the COOs, the chief engineering officers, all of them came to my restaurant to eat lunch between 11:30 in the morning and 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And how they got to the restaurant, they didn't come into the front of the restaurant because they didn't want the patrons to see them cutting the line and sitting down. So they came in through the back of my restaurant to go out into the restaurant to take a seat. But when they walked through the restaurant between 11:30 and 1 o'clock, where was Chef Jeff? Right there cooking and conducting the show. All right, guys, let's pick up. We got 6 New York strips, 2 medium rare, 2 well done, 2 black and blue. Let's go. Fire right now. So when those executives walked there, they saw Chef Jeff cracking the whip, giving out those orders, plating that food, communicating with the waitress. So I made sure every day between 11:30 and 1 o'clock, I was standing there, not in my office, but in plain view of the CEO and all the big bosses. So I did that strategically because I knew they walked through there every single day.
Absolutely amazing. Another person writes on, or has texted me this question: How did you get started? What was your first experience at the Bellagio or Caesars? And that had to feel somewhat uncomfortable. How did you get comfortable with the uncomfortable? How did you get started with that?
Yes. Well, let me tell you something. Nothing's more uncomfortable than being in prison, getting strip searched, naked, body searched next to killers and gang members and mafia. That's uncomfortable. Being on the street in a dark alley with, drug addicts coming up to you with cash money buying drugs, that's uncomfortable. So there's not much that makes me uncomfortable. And when I came to Las Vegas, everyone kept saying, Jeff, don't go there. They're not going to hire you. You've been in prison, you got a criminal record, and you've never been to culinary school. I said, watch me. I came to Vegas. I interviewed at all the big casinos. My goal was to work at the Bellagio. They turned me down because I didn't have a culinary degree. I didn't know all the French terminology. Everybody turned me down except Caesar's Palace. And the reason why Caesar's Palace, I believe, wind up hiring me, because I had a history at Caesar's in my criminal days as a high roller gambler. So I come back almost 30 years later as an employee. And then the executive chef was an Italian man named Jim Perello from the Bronx, New York. He was a big Italian dude. His hair was slicked back. He sat back in his chair like this. And I walked in his office, suited up, ready to work. And he said to me, I thought he was going to hit me with name 5 lettuces, 10 different mushrooms, name the 5 mother sauces, give me some quizzes on food. He said, Henderson. I said, yes, sir. He says, have you ever killed anybody? I said, no, sir. He said, can you cook? I said, yes, sir. He said, I want you to come in and cook tomorrow for me and my team, 8 people, including the vice president of food and beverage. I came in the next day and I cooked 6 courses in 60 minutes. And I gave him a 7th course, which was a banana tempura, deep fried lightly in sesame seed oil, served with some blackberries and blueberries on a skewer, propped up on some French vanilla bean ice cream, drizzled with a little bit of butterscotch sauce with a fresh mint top, and I hit it with a little bit of powdered sugar right on the top, blew them away. And another thing that I did as, a former thief, that I knew I was competing against other chefs for this position, so I knew I had to stand out. I knew that I would need to implement some of the 12 street smart recipes for success. I came in the night before and went to all of the restaurants and got 6 different pieces of china to present my food on, because all the other chefs was using that ugly bone white china in banquets. So every one of my dishes had a different theme, a different style, and the chef was like, Henderson, where did you get all this china? I said, sir, I came in last night and went to all your restaurants and I got a different plate with a different color for each dish. He said, when can you start? And that's how I broke into Vegas. It took me 3 years to get the job at Bellagio, I had to change my walk 3 times. But I finally got in Bellagio, and every time I got into those places, I was promoted to an executive within 90 to 60 days of employment. I don't play. My first boss taught me, Robert Gatsby, coming out of prison. He taught me to never get my job taken. And if you don't bring your A game in this business, somebody will take your position from you. When you're working as an engineer, you're in this business, you got people eyeing your position. And they're waiting for you to slip up. They're waiting for you to go on vacation. They're waiting for you to call in sick so they get the opportunity to work in your position. And they will take your job from you. So you gotta be strong. You have to be confident. You have to have that soldier hat on. Don't try to be a leader right now. Don't try to become a top engineer, because in order to become a top general in any business, you got to become a top soldier first. So you have to put in years of soldiering, learning the secrets, learning the things they don't show in the book, learning things you didn't learn in school, learning the things that nobody ever taught you before. Those are the bits and pieces of wisdom that allow people to succeed in any business. I don't care if it's engineer, culinary arts, brick masonry, barber, whatever that is, that's what you have to focus on. And because when you go out there, especially in the corporate world, there's a lot of sharks out there. There's going to be people who don't like you, the way you dress, the way you look. They're not going to like the school you went to. And they will sabotage you. I've been sabotaged. They put sugar in my salt. I would have my oven slow roasting fennel and tomato petals. And what they would do is they would crank my oven on broil when I was over somewhere working. And I would, you know, the part of being a great cook is you learn when food is done through smell, through taste, and visual. And I would be working and I'm smelling fennel so loud, so heavy. I said, wow, let me go check my fennel. And I would pull the oven open and all of my stuff was burnt. You know why? Because I came to win. I didn't call in sick. They were jealous of me because I came to work hours early. And the reason why I came to work hours early, because it gave me 2 hours to do what I wanted to do in the restaurant. It gave me 2 hours to study the best line cooks, the saucier, the garde manger, watch the chefs. And if there was a special party going out in banquets, I get to visually see that. If I came to work at my shift at 4 o'clock, I would miss that party. And I've never been late on a job. I've never called in sick. If your job starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, you get there at 8 o'clock, you're late. If your shift starts at 8 o'clock, you need to be there at 7:30. Why? Because you get to communicate with people, walk around, see things, get loosened up, get ready for your shift to rock and roll, period. When I was a drug dealer, I stayed out all night. When I made $10,000, I didn't go home. I stayed until I made 15. Like, I've always been highly driven. How your hustle, your grind, what you put into your field will determine how you eat, how you vacation, the house that you live on. Your legacy will be determined how you grind every single day. So what it boils down to is, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to win? That's what it boils down to at the end of the day. Either you're going to be extraordinary or you're going to be ordinary. Everything about me has been about being extraordinary in pursuit of my dream. And that's just me. You know, I don't sleep. I sleep when I'm dead. Like I say, I'm 55. I got a late start. I don't have time. I take naps and I rest. I'm on it because every day there's chefs out there trying to take Chef Jeff out the game. And they're not taking me out the game because I'm reinventing myself every day. All right?
I love it.
Man,
So
I was at that school right now.
Man, we would be having so much fun. Listen, next year when you come out and this thing's passed, everybody on this call is invited to come back, and I will come to my backyard. I got an outdoor kitchen and a pool house. We'll have a party, and y'all are invited. So there we go.
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. So,
and I want to say too, everybody, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead, please.
I want everyone to follow me, because when I went to Kurt, I held a sidebar after, and I had all the students there, and I believe the majority of them started following me, and I've been coaching a few of them in DM. So I love to know where you guys are going in your career. Hit me on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm at Chef Jeff Live. Hey, I'm a student. I heard you speak at the University of Cincinnati in Mr. Sizemore's class. Get at me. We'll jump on the phone. I'll coach you, whatever it takes. This is the reason why I'm really blessed is not because I figured a lot of things out. I'm really blessed is because I pay it forward. I pay it forward.
100%.
Yes.
And we've been demonstrating that throughout there. 100%.
Yes, I
So
pay it forward.
Let me ask you this question. You've obviously worked hard, you take naps, you get up, you get at it, but you got a very successful family. It was a pleasure to meet Stacy earlier. You got those precious kids. How do you do what you do and yet keep family a priority? How does that balance, Jeff?
Yes. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. One thing about Jeff, I don't lie. I stay 100. I suck at balance. Most successful people don't have balance, but balance is important for the mental. It's important for family. So my wife reels me in when it's that time, and she organizes family events. I'm on 20. I don't drink those Red Bulls, those power drinks. I'm on 24 hours, and my kids are all my kids are surrounded around me. I have 2 in college, 1 coming out of high school. They're all extremely smart. Education is big. Homeschool is something. All my kids were homeschool education. Where I suck at, I hire people. My son was trained by an MIT math wizard. What's MIT? The MIT in Boston. He consults with math out here. I hired this MIT consultant to train my son in the math that he needs to become an engineer because I suck at math. My daughter and my other son play piano. I suck at piano, but I bought a piano and I hired a piano instructor. So I try to balance all of those different things. See, I teach my kids how to hunt. I'm a hunter. And when I say teach you how to hunt, is hunt opportunities, hunt possibilities, hunt to stay alive, hunt to survive, hunt to build wealth, hunt to be the best you. And I work every day at more and more balance. Like my wife would say, honey, you know, this weekend we got to take the kids. We got to do this. We got to do that. Okay, I'm on. I put the daddy hat on. But I'm grinding. I'll get my time in with the kids, my wife. I met my wife when I was in prison. My wife is the daughter of the late, great Mary Wells of Motown. Nothing you can do can take you away from your guy. And my wife's father is Cecil Womack, the younger brother of the big blues singer, Bobby Womack, and they're out of Cleveland, Ohio. And her uncle, Mr. Womack, the eldest singer of the Valentinos of the 1950s gospel group, taught me how to cook in prison. And the first thing he taught me how to cook was fried chicken. And when I came home from prison, I wrote to him and I said, friendly, Mr. Womack, I'm getting out of prison. I need driver's license. I need underwear. I walked out of prison with nothing. And he sent the picture of me to his niece, and she volunteered to help me when I got out of prison, get my ID, get toothpaste and a toothbrush. And where she messed up at is, she sent me her address when I was in prison the last 6 months, and I just started writing these letters. And, you know, like I say, I can talk now. So I talked myself right into a great relationship. And we've been together 23 years, been married 22 years. We have 5 children. They're all vegan. You know, we have a strong Christian values. I live a life here in my house that very few people in my family live. We're surrounded by books. I have books. I can come in here with just loads of books because information is everything. And I realize that. So balance I struggle with. I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, I'm the great balance guy. I struggle with balance. You know, I'm not perfect. You know, that's why I wake up. I get up early every day, 4 or 5 hours before everybody's up, so I can get it in and then be able to have more family time as well.
That sounds good. Another question we have here is, how do you set goals effectively? Help tell these folks how you set the goals. Is it one, a two, a couple, or a few, 10, 12?
Yeah.
And where do
Yes.
those come from? Are they sectored into, body, mind, soul, spirit, profession,
Yes.
financial?
Yeah.
Talk to us about your goal
Yes.
setting process, Jeff.
Okay. Well, goals, you have as many goals as you intellectually and mentally can handle. Some people only can do one goal at a time. So I'm good at walking and chewing gum. I work 10, 15 things at a time because everything is intertwined with each other. So number one goal is providing for my family, making sure that we have a roof over our head, we have money for the kids for college, we're eating well, and I'm able to take care of my parents. And the other goal that's entwined, in order for me to do that, I have to always keep rebuilding myself, rebranding myself, getting smarter, learning more, creating new business ventures and things of that nature as well too. So you get you a board. I call it the vision board, right? So goal one, you guys have finished school. You guys just accomplished probably the biggest goal of your life. Goal number two is like, okay, how am I going to eat now? Sooner or later, moms and dad's going to be saying, we got mortgage coming up at the end of the month. Cell phones need to get paid. You guys are 21, 22 years old. Now you got to figure out, how do you take care of yourself? So that means employment. How are you going to get a job? That goes goal number two. Then you have strategy behind that. Then goal number three is, how do you move up in the company? How do you maximize your time there? Goal number four is, what's the future like for you? Where do you see yourself 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line? So that fourth goal, you're always working on that from day one as of right now. Where do you see yourself 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? When do you want to retire? How are you going to build wealth? How are you going to sustain wealth? How are you going to sustain your position yourself to stand out in your industry? How do you become that guy? Because those who stand out are the ones who get those opportunities. And I base those on myself, because that's what it's about for me. I didn't want to be a hash cook slinger at the IHOP. If I'm going to cook, I'm cooking at the finest restaurants and hotels in the world, because I know that's going to elevate my life and my lifestyle the way I want to be. And it allows me to position myself to give back and help others. Because entrepreneurship, which I call myself a hustlepreneur. And a hustlepreneur is the elevated entrepreneur that infuses a little bit of street smarts, life experience, and wisdom into entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship sometimes is learned in a book, in a program, in a master class. But hustle, you can't teach hustle. Either you got hustle in you or you don't. Now, you can pick up some of those traits, but hustle is born out of life experience and wisdom. So the next stage for me is teaching. I love teaching. I don't have a degree or anything, but I love to become an adjunct professor somewhere, because I know what I can bring to young folks, especially in these schools. Like I'm that guy who, I get dirty. You know what I'm saying? I'm that guy who can jump in a pool of sharks and swim to the other side and might only have a little scratch. And that's what you guys have to learn and master. I mean, I can go on and on and on about this. I would love to do a field trip with folks like yourself and take you out there and experience visually these guys who are in beast mode every single day. I mean, they get it, and that's what you have to do in moving forward.
Another question asks, and we've been teaching the importance of this, and I think they've seen it in all of our guest speakers, including you, including this time together. To what degree does giving and paying it forward figure into your success or anyone's success? Talk about that search for significance versus the search for success, and why is paying it forward so important to you, Jeff?
Paying it forward, is your payback to God. I believe. It's the blessings that come through paying it forward. You don't pay it forward just for blessings. You pay it forward because it's the right thing to do. You pay it forward because somebody gave the game to you. See, so when somebody gives you knowledge and inspires you, you have to pay it forward. You can't just keep it for yourself because it's not yours to keep because it came from someone else. So you pay it forward because you never know the knowledge and information you share with someone else. That person can be the one to surpass you and make it to where you want to be in life. And guess what? They reach back and bring you with them. This is why it's important. And for me to pay it forward is because I've taken so much for my community in this country, for my role in drug culture, criminal culture, back in the late 70s, 80s, and stuff before I went to prison. And I'm always in prisons. I go to prisons every month. It's because I became who I am in prison. I was born again, not in a church in front of a pulpit being baptized. I was born again in the darkest place on earth, prison. And it was in prison where other men who were locked up 30 years, lifers, spoke life into me. I owe those men and those young men coming into the system. This is why I do what I do. I've always paid it for. This isn't I'm not onto the 501c3 hustle where I'm trying to get money to do. I don't have a foundation. I don't get paid to go in prisons. It's something that I just do. What I'm doing here, I spoke at Kurt. They wrote me my check as a speaker, as a professional speaker. What I'm doing right here, I'm paying it forward. I'm coming to Cincinnati next year, and I'm going to do the same thing again. And I'm telling you guys now, you inbox me, you DM me, I'll talk to you, I'll coach you. Any information I got, any wisdom I got, I'm going to share it with you. That's what I do. And I remember my wife questioning me sometimes in the past. Honey, why do you keep going to prisons? You did your time. You're done with that. You've been out for 23 years. I said, honey, we live in this house today. We take vacations every day because of those men in prison. I have to return. It's the right thing to do to speak life into the next generation of people coming forward. And this is why it's important. You'll be blessed beyond measure. It's just what you have to do. When you learn something and someone shares with you, you give that back. You share with somebody else. That's how you become blessed. That's how you take the cheat and the greed up off of you. I'm telling you. Yes.
Just for a moment, everybody, and you got 140 some odd people on this call, just listen and just let some of this truth sink in. Our time, which was once months and then weeks and then days, is down to minutes. And I view this as a sacred time, as a special time, which is why I asked Jeff to join us. I believe that what you're hearing, I don't know who. I'm going to go out on a limb and be weird. I'm going to believe that what you're hearing, somebody is there, your life's going to be changed for the better because of what you've heard. And for us to just rush through this time together would not be a good service to Jeff's time investment with us. So I just want you to listen to what you've heard, and I want you to listen to what you're feeling. Listen to what that urge is, and that sense of purpose and that sense of destiny is calling you to do or to move toward or offload. We've talked about that since day one. The garbage, the suitcases full that need to be left. I know for a fact that one, two, a couple or a few of your lives are being changed. You are at a crossroads tonight at this hour. And the decisions you make after we're done are just going to change your life. Jeff, go right ahead. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Go.
Even if you just take a nugget.
Yes. Yes.
This one nugget of wisdom. Listen.
Nugget.
Yeah, listen, I talk to people all the time. You got some people that say, you know what? I don't want to hear this. That ain't me. It has nothing to do with me. Listen, I've been there. And everything that I'm sharing did not come out of a book. It came out of real life experiences. And the moment any one of you reject wisdom of someone who has walked in those shoes is the day you begin to fail. And as a little boy, I rejected the wisdom of my parents and my school teachers and embraced the wisdom of criminals that led me to prison for a decade of my life. I just thank God that I was able to bounce back and realize that that setback was the setup for the comeback. So I always listen. And if you ever look at a lot of photos of me with people, you'll mostly see me with elders. I love elders. And the reason why I love elders is because they got a vault of wisdom and experience that expand way beyond your parents even thinking about bringing you into this world. And you need to get that wisdom out of them. Don't let them pass away, taking that with them to the grave. Talk to them. They'll tell you stories. They'll inspire you. They will give you nuggets you can't pay for. And it's so important, young people. I beat my kids with this upside their head every day. And to my kids, I'm just daddy. Oh, here's daddy again. He's on a tangent. But you know what I do? I go out and I bring people in front of my kids and they reinforce what I have to say. It's important to listen. It's important to take it because no one's going to give you nothing. If you think you're going to graduate and go out there and somebody's going to lay that cream of the crop job in your lap making six figures, you've been bamboozled and hoodwinked. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to be laser focused. And I hope that the nuggets I shared with you here today and stuff, that there's something that I said. There's one nugget that I said that you may remember. And when you reject wisdom, like I did, when I sat in that prison cell, I said to myself, now I know what my mom was talking about. Mm-hmm. Now I get it when my school teacher, Miss Scarborough, told me that, Jeff, if you don't come to school, you're going to fail in life. Now I get it because I didn't respect the wisdom.
Let this sink in, guys. We don't want to move quickly forward. Take a minute to hear what's being shared from the heart. Another person asked, and I think this is a great one, Audrey. Thank you for this. What do you think is the key to becoming successful when things just don't seem to work out? This kind of time we're in, she writes, is overwhelming for many of us. And I will acknowledge I've had calls and emails. People's job offers have been rescinded. They've been delayed. Your start date's been pushed back. Some of you are going to work for co-op salary instead of the full-time salary. What do you do when things don't make sense and things don't work out, Jeff? And we find ourselves at a dead end, dust in our mouth, some sort of dead end Shangri-La. Thoughts?
Everybody hits dead ends. Nothing lasts forever. And when I was on Oprah, she made a statement at the end. She says, never give up until you take your last breath. When you give up, you've thrown in the towel. I have been a person who never gives up. If you got assigned to a co-op versus a full-time job, there's a reason. And when you go to that co-op, whatever that is, Chef Jeff, don't even know what that is. What's a co-op?
A co-op at University of Cincinnati, we've got a 5-year program, and many of our majors, and they're year-round, and they integrate on-the-job training along with the classroom training. It's a part of the curriculum. So
I
most
like
of
that.
these folks that you see here have had at least 1 full year of real-time, real-life job experience throughout the United States. So that's called a
Is that
co-op
something
experience.
some students don't want? If some students don't want the co-op?
I think that if they come to the University of Cincinnati, most of you came here because of the co-op experience, to earn while you learn, to get your degree. It may take an extra year, but that on-the-job training and that counseling that you got, that brought them. How many of you guys, by show of hands, came to UC because of the co-op experience? Make sure we see it on your screen. Raise your hand. So there's a lot of hands right there, Jeff, going up. You can see.
Wow.
And so, yeah. So what do you do when things don't work out? Obviously, we just keep grinding at it. And any advice you have for those that might feel empty-handed right now?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, the reality of life is sometimes you get dealt a bad hand, and that's unfortunate. And I always like to go back to saying that the strong survive. The strong make it out of that hole. And sometimes being in that hole is the best life lesson that you will ever experience. And no one stays in a hole forever. No one stays down forever. That is the setup for the comeback. Believe me, when I was down and out in a cage in prison, there were times when I felt my life was over. When people stopped writing me letters, when people stopped coming to visit me, when people stopped talking my name, it was that shiny moment that led me to read my first book ever in my life. It was that shining moment that led me to a career in a prison kitchen. It was that moment that led me to Toastmasters, to hone my speaking skills. And who would imagine that I would have made millions of dollars speaking, from speaking in a prison, in a hole, at a podium with convicts, working in a prison kitchen, making biscuits and gravy, meatloaf, frozen vegetables, trying to get the best flavor I can get out of them. Who would imagine that I would be on the Food Network, an award-winning chef, and made big money writing cookbooks? So don't look at the hole always as a dark place. Sometimes when you bottom out, that's the reality check, because that allows you to see something out of your eyes that someone who have never fell down ever seen. So when you fall down, the key is take those life lessons when you get out of that hole, to make sure you never fall in that hole again. Mm-hmm. And that's when I came out of that prison hole. I've been out of prison 22 years. And I haven't had handcuffs on me in 22 years. I haven't been strip searched, body cavity checked, naked in 22 years. I realized that that part of my life was my story and my journey. And I don't give up until I take my last breath. Because my mother used to always say, if there's a will, there's a way. So I want to leave you with that moment of thought. Love yourself. You never let nobody take your dream from you. Crush your dream. Tell you that you can't get a particular job. Tell you that you don't fit into this organization and you'll never get to this place. Those are haters. Those are dream crushers. Let them be your motivator. Let them inspire you to crawl out of that hole and create those opportunities. They made fun of me. They called me names when they found out I went to prison. My employees went to human resource and said, I'm not working for no criminal. No drug dealer's gonna tell me what to do. I just stayed focused. Mm-hmm. I'd embrace the challenges that made me more mental tough to deal with all of that. I was underpaid. Chefs who held positions before me at multi-billion-dollar companies, They made $20,000 more than me. They got $10,000 bonuses when I got a check for $900 for my bonus. And my restaurants made profit every single year. I didn't scream racism, discrimination, and none of that. I stayed laser focused. Now look at me today. Those same people who stomped on me, who told me that I would never work in Vegas, I would never make the money or get the house on the hill with the white picket fence. I'm living in one right now. I got a swimming pool in my backyard. I'm not bragging. That was my childhood dream. I got a swimming pool in the backyard. I got 3 refrigerators filled with food. Because I remember as a little boy opening up our family refrigerator and there was nothing to eat. And I had to go to school and get the free breakfast program, the free lunch program. I started stealing extra meal tickets so I can get the extra fruit and food to bring it home. So when you talk about being blessed, when you talk about, you know, God moving you through the rough waters, I've been through it all. I've been in a hole in solitary confinement where you only get out for 30 minutes a day. You're only allowed to take 2 showers a week. I've been in a dark hole in solitary confinement where I had to hear other men screaming and banging on the prison doors. I walked on concrete every single day for 10 years. I had to look out gun towers out the corner of my eyes every day, walking a prison yard with 1,200 convicts, not knowing if I was going to get shanked, killed, or whatever, make it out of prison alive. So I take nothing for granted. These books behind me is like money in the bank. These books behind me is part of my legacy that made me who I am today. God gave us all a gift. He gave everyone a gift. He didn't discriminate black, white, brown, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, African, Chinese, Korean, South America. God gave us all a gift. And a gift is the thing, the one thing that you do well at a high level. But you're not born knowing what that gift is. That gift evolves through life experiences. That gift evolves through exposure. This is why folks who come from poverty, who come from the inner cities, never discover their gift. Because they never saw the house on the hill with a white picket fence. Mm-hmm. No one ever told them they were smart and they had the power of potential. So when you dig deep inside and you realize that you have a gift too, and when you realize that you have the power of potential to achieve greatness, we all are great. We all are geniuses in our own little way. You just got to figure out what that is. So when you fall down, and you're in that hole, that's part of the journey to figure out the gift. And once you figure out what that gift and you focus on the gift, there's no stopping you. There is no stopping you. People I went to prison with, drug dealers, gangsters on the street. Man, how did that Jeff do it? How did Jeff do it? How did he change his mindset? How did he have a psychological shift? It's when I started
Jeff
reading
Henderson?
books. Yes. Come on live with me. I can keep, man. You guys got me fired up. Today is church on Wednesday. Hump Day Wednesday. We had church today. They say I'm supposed to be a preacher, but hey, I don't think I'll ever be a preacher, man. I just like sharing wisdom, man.
Austin, why don't you kill Austin? Why don't you kill Austin? Austin, why don't you kill your microphone? We're hearing your conversation. I don't know about you guys, but I've wiped my eye more than one time, and I've watched you guys do the same. If this hasn't touched your heart, I don't know really what can. And I want to know what you think your excuse for non-performance is or non-achievement. You've seen a very unique situation here, and he's inviting you to relate to him, to experience with him, to engage with him. You don't get that. You can't buy this. He's too expensive. You can't afford it yet. But I hope you just understand how special this moment is. And I don't want to hijack Jeff's evening. Now, it is about 7:45 here in Cincinnati. Jeff, how much more time do you have? And please be honest with you, because I tell you, at the first half hour, I could have been satisfied and my cup was full. But how much more time do you have? Because we do not want to take advantage of you.
Let's take it to the top of the hour, because tomorrow I have to drive to San Diego and bring my mother here to Vegas to spend a week here. So I have her in quarantine down there in San Diego. So let's go to the top of the hour. Any questions, feel free.
Yeah, before
And
we
if
do,
there's
I want to.
anybody-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Before we do, Jeff, I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to go in the chat box, because we're going to get these chat things to him. But I want you to repeat again how we can connect with you. You've invited some of the finest, 140 of the finest people I know. I have truly fallen in love with this class, and they know it, and I say it unashamedly. But tell us once again how we can follow you and how we can engage you, so that those who want to have that access. Go ahead.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Chef Jeff Live. And if you really
live, right? Chef Jeff Live.
Chef Jeff Live. I'm on LinkedIn as Chef Jeff Henderson. And if you work hard and you think strategically, you can find my email address and hit me directly. Our website is chefjefflive.com, and my email address is there. And I may take a day or two to get back to you, but I'll get back to you. And sometimes when you reach out to people, stay consistent.
Yeah.
You don't try once. You don't try twice. You don't try 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. You keep trying. And what that tells the other person is this person is sincere and he's hungry. Because I reach out to people for years and they finally talk to me. They say, this guy been pursuing me for a long time. So I'm here to empower and inspire. So feel free to reach out. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at Chef Jeff Live. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, too. And you never know. I've spoken to quite a few engineering groups. I know quite a few out there. Build your network. You know, if you got something, if I know somebody, say, hey, here's a sharp guy. It's all about who you know.
Yeah,
Not
100%.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Yes.
We've taught that from day one. So how, a couple of things. Tell us about the tree project. I think my business gave you a check, or will by the end of the month or something. I don't know if we've got that out to you or not, but I remember committing to you, and you will get it. If you don't have it already. Tell us about the tree project with these young kids that you're working with. That's fascinating to me.
The tree project, we got stopped because of COVID-19, but we'll continue once we're able to go forward. And what I do, so in these prisons, I may have a picture here on my phone. Give me 1 second here. I want to show you if I can find it quickly here. I can't find that picture, but I'll get them to Greg. In juvenile facilities, especially here in the desert, the cell window is probably about this wide. And when I was in prison, when you look out of the window, you only can see certain things, and you see the same thing every day. And sometimes you would put your head into that window trying to see an inch of something different every single day. And in these little jail cells that these youngsters who from the age of 9 to 18 years old live in, especially here in the desert, I want to put a miniature fruit tree outside of every window. I've done them in San Diego at the North County Claremont Juvenile Detention Center, where I went to Home Depot and I put trees and plants because I wanted young people to see color. I wanted them to be able to water that tree every single day and watch that tree bear fruit. Like you, when you study, you do your research, you bear fruit at the end of the day. A tree that doesn't bear fruit isn't being watered and fed right. If you don't bear fruit, meaning you're not being fed and watered right. So my goal is to plant a miniature fruit tree outside of every juvenile prison cell window in this country. And Kurt was so, I I wish I don't want to take time away, but I was going to run.
No, you're good. Go right ahead. You're good.
Okay. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, we will. By the way, when he mentions Kurt, that's one of my businesses. The Construction Users Roundtable, Kurt.org tells you more about that. It's one of my businesses, and we're going to help him plant trees for those little kids in long-term care and in jail to give them something to tend to get them something to harvest from, and to give them something to see. Santa Ono has always said, Greg, and I'll never forget it, when I got a Professor of the Year award many years ago, he said, educate the head, but don't ever fail to educate the heart. And while Jeff's fetching what he's looking for, I want you to know that I tried my very best to do that this semester. And the torch has been passed now. We're done. We're pushing you out. You're commencing your journey out of UC to wherever, so many places. And so you carry the torch now. You take what you've learned here, you take what you've learned in this class, and you carry that torch. And like Rich Bainey, who told us a couple of weeks ago, you give the light, and people will find their way, but you are a light giver. And that is your responsibility. It's your duty. It's also your challenge. Jeff, back to you.
Yes. So what you see here is an envelope. Can you read what that says?
It says the Construction Users Roundtable Collections.
And here is the envelope.
Well. Good, you're on your way.
All the cash with business cards, and one of the attendees won a $100 Target Visa card, and they blessed me with this mission. And this is sitting in my other office as I continue to collect. I've collected so far $8,000 for a couple other organizations. And once COVID-19 is over, we're going to be hopefully partnering with Home Depot or Lowe's to take so I've already made the first initial investment. I bought 2 shovels, I bought mixing dirt, and I bought 5 trees for the Vegas project. And every kid who lives in that cell is going to dig the hole and plant the fruit tree. There will be no irrigation, water sprinkling system. I don't want no sprinkler system, because every day, twice a day, every kid will be allowed outside the cell, the unit, to water the tree. So they'll get to see the tree every day, twice a day, new leaves and new fruit. And the kid will get a dog tag on that tree with their name. And when they go home, or if they got a serious charge, they go to the big prison, the new kid who takes over that cell will put his name on the tree, and it becomes, so the tree stays forever, and everybody has ownership in that particular tree. So thank you guys, appreciate it.
What an amazing effort. Now, if we wanted to, Adam, you took the words right out of my mouth. A couple of the folks on text and on the chat there, how can we help? How can we donate? How can we be a part of that? When I say we, this class, where could we send you? $5, 10, 20, 100?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I don't have a foundation, a nonprofit. We're going to start one soon because I really think I can leverage my speaking relationships to get folks to buy these trees for these kids. Stay tuned. I don't have a landing place. I do have matter of fact, I do my P.O. box. You could send, a little small debit card or something like this from Home Depot. Everything counts.
What's your P.O. box address? Give us your address, Jeff.
Yeah.
For your P.O. box.
I'm going to text it to you because I don't know
Perfect.
if by heart.
Yeah, I get that.
Stacy text me. We get that.
That would be terrific,
Yes.
and I'll make sure this group gets it. Is
and
now.
This is a part.
Yeah.
And this is a part of paying it forward, because I go in these juvenile prisons, and these kids are 9 years old, 10, 11, and 12. Somehow they became criminalized, and we got to instill hope in them. if I was able to take 10 of you guys who have just graduated or graduated from the University of Cincinnati with an engineering degree and bring you in there, you guys aren't that much older than them. These guys are 17, 18 years old, some for murder, robbery, gang affiliation. You know, they were high on meth and pills and committed crimes. And that'll make you say, I'm glad I made the right moves.
Yeah.
And I know every one of you on this Zoom call have made a poor choice in your life. None of you guys, no one's perfect.
Right.
We've all have done something that we are not proud of.
Right.
And this is why you're blessed, because you made it through the fire. This could happen to anybody. Doesn't matter who you are, no matter where you come from. You guys made it through the fire. And how you proceed forward is going to submit your legacy, is going to submit your value in life to your children. It's just a beauty, man. It's just so fulfilling just to uplift somebody's life. You know, like I just went to go get the envelope out of my office, and my wife and my kids were saying, Dad, you have never been on a call this long. I said, I'm fine. Just close the door. When I get off the phone, I'm going to be hungry.
You are, and then we're going to be hungry too. So here's what we're going to do in the last minute, and then we're going to let Jeff go. We've got about 90 seconds, maybe a minute or two. Just real quick, I want you to affirm him. Remember 3 things that that everybody needs, and not everybody will ask for, is love, acceptance, and affirmation. So I want as many of us who can just unmute your mic. Jeff, thank you. This has meant so much. It's touched my heart. And then mute your mic back up. But let's give him, let's share our gratitude. If we were at the classroom, why, we would have had a party like we've had in years past, and music and food and cake with forks. You guys can draw those dots, connect those dots.
Come on, Annie.
We're not, yeah. So who has the courage to start? Unmute that mic just for 15 or 20 seconds. Go.
I love, accept, and affirm you, Jeff.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. Somebody else.
Jeff, thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking to us. We really appreciate it. Your message really spoke to me, myself, and a lot of us. So we really thank you for your time. I know it's very valuable. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. Luke?
Thank you.
Jeff, this has been such an encouragement. I just texted 6 people from my boys back at college, and I had everyone promise that we're going to pay it forward, and I'm going to stick to that. Thank you so much for those words of encouragement.
Thanks, Luke. Somebody else.
Jeff, we're going to try and make the best we can of this with me and my roommate here, and try and help out as many as we can.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Somebody else, quickly.
Jeff, hey, really appreciate your message, your wisdom. I think you really inspired me to never stop learning. The grind never stops. Like, I love your drive and how you go after life just with passion, like whatever it is, your family, your job, and going after your strengths. You really inspired me to, I think, change the way I'm going about life and how I think about what I'm doing. So I really love it. Appreciate it.
Thank you, David. That inspires me. Somebody else, real quick.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much for your time, man. You're the man. We all have a gift, and I've never heard that before. So just hearing that our mission is to go find that. It's very, very empowering. So thank you for your time, man.
My pleasure. Thank you. Yes.
Thanks, Austin. Somebody else, real quick. We've got about 45 seconds left.
I want to hear from Annie. She held up a fork.
Yes, Annie, where are you?
I do have my
There
fork.
she is.
Earlier in the semester, Greg gave us all a fork and told us to, wait until the end. There's always more to come. So I've got my fork sitting next to me. But, thanks so much for this. We have a whole group chat going where we're all talking about how awesome this was. So we really, really appreciate this. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you much. And good luck, Annie. All you guys.
Thank you, Annie. One or two more, and then we're done. This is your opportunity to give back just a word of encouragement, affirmation, a little bit of love to our speaker. Who is it?
Hey, Jeff, I really appreciate your grit. I find that very inspiring that you were just able to persevere through so much, being in unfortunate circumstances and whatnot. Very rare to find, and I really find it inspiring. So thank you very much for your story and your inspiration there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
One more.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, one more. Hey, Jeff. Yeah, thank you for today. Thank you for sharing your story. I thought one really cool thing that stood out to me was that one conversation can affect someone's whole life. Like that one person that encouraged you and told you that you were smart. That just encouraged me in my conversations with people and my friends. And like one thing I could say could influence their entire life. So I thought that was really cool.
Yes. 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 Thank you much. Thank you guys. Wow.
You get the very last word, Jeff. Who's that beauty sitting next to you there?
This is Gracie right here. Grace Elizabeth. Say hi,
Hi, Grace. Everybody say hi to Grace in Las Vegas. Jeff, you get the very last word, and then you can
yes,
go eat that dinner.
I just want to say I thank you guys for listening to me because it's important for people to listen, especially when I talk to young folks. I mean, you guys are our future, the generation that's going to lead this country and lead the world, and we need you guys, and we look up to you guys. I know I do. I mean, I learned a lot about engineering through my kids because they always excelled at mathematics where I sucked. The only thing I knew how to do was count money. I didn't know the algebra, all the tough stuff, R plus X equals this and that and stuff. So I admire you guys. I admire you for the fact that you had the courage to keep going out of high school. And you guys have made some fine engineers out there. And I want to say again, I hope that some nuggets that I dropped today, if you just take one thing, two things, when you get off this call, encourage somebody, pay it forward, tell them they're smart. I'll help you if you need any help. When you leave school, don't take your books with you. Leave them behind to somebody else who might not be able to afford a book. When I left prison, I only took a few books. And the first book I ever read in my life, I tried to pay the guy for it. In prison, he gave me a book called Black Men, Obsolete, Single, Dangerous. It was the first book I ever read in my life, and I was so proud to read about men who looked like me, who wasn't criminal, who was intellectuals, who were scientists, and all these great things. So I tried to pay the guy money because in prison, you're not supposed to let nobody give you anything or you take anything. You know what he told me? He said, Jeff, I don't want the money. When you finish reading the book and you get all the nuggets, you leave it behind to somebody else, to the next man. So that's important, is leave your stamp on someone else, because that's what you will remember by. What will your legacy say about you when you get my age? What will people remember you by? It won't be by the top job that you get or the biggest house on the hill or the fancy cars or the private jets. Your legacy will be defined by the people you touch, the people who you bring along with you, and you share those little nuggets, because a lot of people are gonna dump nuggets on you along the way, and you cannot hoard it. You have to share it with other people. And this is how you'll be blessed, and this is how you'll be covered and highly favored. And it's important. So I say that, I leave you now. I wish you the well. Congratulations. I salute you, and I wish you well. Find your gift, get that hook up, hustle and grind like never before, and never give up no matter what. I'm Chef Jeff. I approve this message. I'm out.
Jeff, we love you.
Greg.
Thanks so much. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. We love you. The world needs you. Thanks. We'll be
all righty. I see my man Dan is eating. Says, Jeff, you've been talking long. I said, is that top ramen, Dan?
Dan, what are you eating down there?
It's Chipotle.
Of course it is.
It kind of looked like top ramen. I am a top ramen noodle expert, but I never eat them since I left prison. Canned tuna or anything.
No,
all right,
I don't blame you. Love you, Jeff. We'll be in touch. See you.
All right.
Okay.